evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of today's bar of August 28th, 2024 at 5:30. Welcome all present are Christopher Gao and Robin Swilken, Mr. Ledworth, and thank you, Desiree, for taking minutes. Julie Reed, our newly sworn-in member, is absent today. It was a pre-arranged travel that she had to go to Europe, but she'll be here for the next session. And I just wanted to say that there's one bar position open with a 2-year term left to go for a person who might like to apply if you have architectural or other relevant professional experience. So you could please send a resume to Mayor Citron or even in the office. So we can start today with the first applicants. That's yourselves. 97 Tower Hill Road, and the purpose is just to have another look at the north facade. Everything else having been approved previously.
Yes. Spence, you want to kick it off?
Spence, can you hear us?
Yes.
Do you want to share your screen or you just want to explain it?
Well, we had been asked to bring back some of the curved motifs that were on the original house. And so we've done that in the new shingled porch in all of the openings. So we remove the columns and have these shingled piers now that run around from both the main entrance to the service entrance.
Which is so lovely.
It really does look good. Yeah. Thank you.
It was amazing the way you kind of found that solution and ran with it.
Well, it was your suggestion, so it was good to hear. Yeah.
Well, but it was a very vague, it was a very vague suggestion. Then you
ran with it. Yeah.
ran with it.
Right. Yes. Yeah, we tried a few, halfway motifs and things, and it seemed to be, kind of an all or nothing thing, and it looked good. So
Very pricey.
Could I just ask? Could I ask something?
sure.
So the shingles at the front here, are they to be painted or are they natural colors or what's? I was just trying to understand the color scheme.
Yeah, they'll be painted to match the same colors that are on the house now.
As the siding is.
Yeah.
The way that the
Okay.
fish scales
Alright.
are also.
Exactly.
Yes,
They
I was just right. Okay,
And I
that's.
like that variety, the kind of counterpoint.
I know. I just wanted to understand the colors, but okay. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
I have one question, if I may, Stephanie.
Oh yes.
So we were just talking about, this is the north, but I noticed in the next page, is this not a new elevation too? This
That one piece there on the left side. So that's the extension.
mhm.
So
That's just the side view.
so that's just the side.
Oh, this
So-
is existing. I
Yes.
It's
see.
existing.
Yes.
Okay. And so in this new iteration, nothing will change. It will be just as it is. Got it.
This is-
Same exact plan.
Yeah, no, love it.
Opinion on
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Bringing back that price aspect and curvature. It's very successful. So the only other change I notice is the under here underneath this,
Scalloping.
It's instead of being open. So
Yeah,
it's
we
gonna
didn't.
be-
Yes.
Yeah, we don't like it being open.
Okay, and that it'll be the
It'll
same
just
as the
match.
scalloping.
Yep.
Yeah. Great.
I think that's much better.
Yeah, and it allows us in that porch entry at the main entrance, we have like a popped up ceiling. So we have a kind of pyramidal cove ceiling there that'll be nice before you enter the front door so that we can hang a light there. A nice lantern.
Nice opportunity to reinforce this wonderful existing detail again. the things
Yes,
that-
right.
And it now allows you to actually keep 2 of the windows in place that were previously going to be changed, right?
Yeah,
That's
correct.
And
Correct. So for a cost saving, right, you could, they're depending on, if that window is okay as well, like, there was a look to like, just to make sure that everything is good, no rot, but yes,
Or to like.
correct.
So has everyone commented sufficiently, or are there any questions from any of the members?
No, I don't think, are there any questions from the Zooms?
So are you ready to vote? Do you feel ready to?
Yeah.
Okay, so so be it resolved that the revised application dated 8/15/2024, page A200 of Cass Associates plans are to be approved, being the second redesign, the north facade. And we're very excited that this idea has been adopted. And that's, I think it's going to be fabulous. So can we, can I have a second?
Second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye, aye, aye.
Aye. So we have 3 votes in favor. Thank you so much for doing all
Great,
this.
no, very much appreciated.
Question, actually, was there one other page that we had to also get approved before?
I think it was A100.
A100.
Sorry, we don't have a breakdown of the first round.
It should be the floor plan, the top view. Because that'll include the, yes, that one.
A101.
Yeah, A101. If that one also needs to be approved as well.
And you might as well include the A201 that you had asked about, that side elevation.
Just so there's no
Okay.
avoidance of doubt.
Can we fold that in retroactively to your regular?
I think so. So that's basically the same facade, but seen from a different angle.
Yeah.
This is more of a question for Desiree, I guess.
Okay.
That we're including A1.
I think you're muted, Desiree.
No, I'm just looking at, I'm trying to open the minutes from
Oh, so.
from
we're-
August 5th.
So we're hoping to add on to the resolution that the pages A101 and A102,
201.
sorry.
201, yes.
are Also part of that.
So are those two newly revised as well, or they just from the original? That we- Okay, and that's what I wanted to verify. Okay,
Because like they're all changed with the new front facade and it impacts all the other elevations too. That's why we want to include them.
Safe.
Great,
Thank
so
you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Comes out beautifully.
I gotta come
Yeah.
by during construction to see it.
Oh, and I think that's your copy of it.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Have
so
a
much.
good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.
So, the second application for today is your own. It's 37 Foxhill Road and it's about, a new deck extension.
Yes, and color, sorry, Randy Forkey's abroad.
Okay.
The Zoom link actually is blocked for international.
Oh,
That's why I just downloaded it.
oh, I
That's what
see.
we learned.
Okay.
Sorry
So-
about that, we did that to prevent problems we had very early on.
No worries at all. This is easy enough.
So would you be able to, walk us through?
Yes, of course. And also one more matter, which I mentioned in the application, is also painting the annex structure.
Okay,
Which I
that's a good idea.
Yes. So first off, thank you all for all you do here. Molly Tenari is a good friend. I'm very appreciative of the time that she spent on the board. And Chris Ruiz spoken about it too. Also just wanted to thank Richard. Just introduce everybody. Randy, who's on the phone, is our lead designer. Richard is our lead architect. Lenore Winters is our consultant designer, and she's a specialist in color, and she really led the color selection. And then Helen Wilkes, who's also blessed to be my mother-in-law, is our consultant architect. She specializes in historic preservation and restoration, and actually lives in a garden community just outside of DC of a similar era to Tuxedo Park.
Very
Kensington. So first off, just want to open by saying, we're in our project overall, we're just extraordinarily appreciative and respectful of both the history of the community and as well as the house. We spent a fair bit of time doing as much sleuthing as we possibly can to learn about the history of the house and the origins and Adele Colgate. To our frustration, as you would appreciate, there's not that much out there, even though we've spent a lot of time. And kudos to Helen, who's found a way to discover much more than we ever thought possible.
Is Colgate the architect or the client commission?
Adele Colgate was the granddaughter of the founder of what's now Colgate Palmolive. So it was designed for her. The history of the house is pretty remarkable. She apparently had two things which are very clear that she loved that were embedded in the architecture. The first, and that structurally, was actually afraid of fire. I forget the term. There's a fancy word for that, and ESL, but
Pyrophobia.
that's it. Yeah, something like that. But she actually had the home built essentially entirely of brick or cinder block. Fire doors installed throughout the house, and they're also, if you guys ever want to come over there, these industrial kind of fire hoses, which come out. The hoses have since been detached, but now we're left with the brass fittings.
Wow.
And industrial grade kind of piping. We also
Those are in
noticed
the interior?
interior,
Yeah.
and one upstairs, one downstairs, and almost like a holding area for the pipe to be. I also can't believe it's a coincidence that the fire hydrant is immediately across the street on the other side of Fox Hill from the main home. That can't be a coincidence. She also then loved her German Shepherds. The annex was actually what was used to train the German Shepherds.
Was that built later? It just seems an odd, it's just, I
So
don't know,
exactly,
like
so
an afterthought,
It's
but not.
via an accordion
Mhm.
structure, and it's offset from the home, so it clearly feels like it was built separately and afterwards. But our neighbor, who actually knew Adele Colgate because she grew up here, told us that as far back as she could remember, it was always present. But
Going back to the 50s.
It's just if you
probably.
think about the windows, it
Yeah.
almost seems like it's too.
And the
tight.
roof line too.
Yeah,
It's sort of
exactly.
strange.
exactly, so she bred as many as 38 German Shepherds there.
Is that what's buried at Kathy Norris's?
Exactly right.
God.
That's exactly right.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a small pet cemetery.
When she died, she had all the dogs euthanized. And so there's a
No
whole.
way.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is
that's-
that right? When
She left
Colgate
it, no one would be able to look after her dogs as well as she.
That's horrific.
So the terms of her will was they're all euthanized. So I think that big
So it's the
cemetery
opposite
there.
of Leona Helmsley's approach.
If she was,
It's a character.
it was 1930 was it built?
1930s. That's exactly what we discovered too. And look, what we're seeking to build, if we were to start with the deck, first off, we actually are not sure why the color was chosen. Kudos to Lenora. I'll let her speak to a bit more of the process we used in selecting these colors. The colors was rather thorough in the history of them, but I wanted to bring samples. The intention was we did a detailed study with the brick to try to pick up, what are the colors in the brick. I think we looked in total at north of 15 potential colors. Had the samples, started with sample books, got samples, large swatches, narrowed it down to 5. Sorry, we narrowed it down to 7, then 5, then 3, and now 2. And also saw it in different lights, morning, evening. So that was the color selection. We can talk about that in a moment. The deck, what catalyzed this is the deck which exists today is a deck off of the annex and in no way connected to the main home. My Liz and I, Liz couldn't be here. She's with our 2 children at the moment, 4 and 2, and a third one on the way. As we're having the great privilege of restoring this home, it also hasn't had a major renovation, we believe, since the late 90s, potentially. So from an interior standpoint, like we're essentially making updates across the board. But the vision for this deck, which we proposed, is a deck which I think would add great, from an experience as a homeowner. It would be immediately off of the main kitchen and dining area, with the main family room, which is connected and contiguous, right off of that as well. So it would allow for indoor-outdoor living just in a minute.
Tick free.
Exactly, tick free. And look, even a little thing, this deck, which would be right out there, allows us to essentially oversee the backyard where the kids will be playing.
Mm.
Versus now, we would have to run out and around through the annex, down a flight of stairs, and go out to get to the kids. Or we'd have to run to the end, out kind of the side door to Fox Hill, and then cut back to the backyard. Also from an aesthetic standpoint, because this deck, we intend, and I understand that landscaping is ultimately temporary, but we intend along Fox Hill to these plans, of course, we'll be proposing in time too, but the intention is maybe to put continue the line of blue spruces, which are there. But do what we can to make sure it's in the backyard, but not to make it have any impact on people that are driving by from the street on that side. But also what we want to do is we think that just from a line and a site standpoint, it actually would almost minimize this deck, which exists today, because it protrudes, it kind of comes out of nowhere, versus having like a more consistent decking line that's going along the house.
You're thinking of keeping that in like a whole big wrap almost. Why do you need that much deck?
We don't
You
need
wouldn't-
that much deck. It's more that because that portion of the deck existed for historical purposes, we don't want to go through the process of tearing it down and then, especially because it's got a great story as to why it did exist
Why did it exist?
for the dogs. Because it was
For the dogs?
for outdoor space for the dogs is
Like,
our
go
best estimate.
downstairs?
Because the deck actually comes immediately off of the annex. The annex has 2 floors.
Yes.
So the annex, the main upstairs, the cathedral ceiling you see, there's nothing, there's no loft, there's no attic space. It's just 20-ish feet of cathedral ceiling, and that was where training was. That was where training would happen.
Right.
And our understanding is because they have French doors, she would open those up and then would have indoor-outdoor space for the dogs outside as well, and large decking there. So that was the original purpose. We've lived in the house now for 5 months, 4 months, 5 months. Not once have we actually used that deck for our personal family purposes, or even if guests come, just because you have to
Right.
walk through the family room, walk through the accordion connector, walk through the big like the structure with the cathedral ceiling, open the French doors, and then
Yeah,
get
no.
there. Just
But
40.
you would use it if you were connected. Is that the idea? It's a
The idea
nice
is if it's
place.
connected, we could kind of use that as a separate extended deck. Is the thinking, but our primary use would be this deck, which is immediately off of the family dining area. And the deck, which we're proposing, we don't want to be particularly large. We just want it to be a size that's appropriate for the scale of home, was the idea. And, as you'd expect, be dining table, some soft seating, a grill. That's pretty much it.
If you add the 2 decks together, it's like 100% more than what normally is permitted under the rules. It's like
I understand.
huge.
And in coming to you guys, we wanted to see if, a variance may be a possibility, just because it's given the historical purpose of the original deck.
I know.
And
I think a variance is a possibility, but I think it would have to come through the BZA.
Right.
Yeah, we're not the ones, but we have to, it's always both. So
Yeah.
I think we
They
have
would
to-
listen to
yeah.
our opinion. See,
when I've spoken to John, he's recommended coming to you first.
Right.
Yeah,
To
that
get us
tends
to
to
weigh
be,
in.
Get your
yeah.
blessing, exactly. And with your minutes being approved and with your blessing, given just the context of,
Mhm.
our family of soon to be 5 and how we'd like to use it.
Well, one thing that would help to kind of sell it from an aesthetic standpoint and the struggles, what is beautiful about that house, other than those gorgeous sort of, 1930s rectilinear lines, is, and Christopher is pointing this out, all of this oxidized, I assume copper, not bronze, but sort of
Oh, I love
oolong-y,
that. I love
It is
that so much.
worth its weight in, well, copper,
Yeah.
which is extremely valuable this
Yeah.
week, I guess. And can that play more of a role in what you're doing down below to kind of echo those lateral lines of that color? Can that play? Christopher was suggesting maybe even dignifying with whatever you choose. And we do think it should be consistent. Like, it would be a very bad choice to keep all of the railing on the one and then do something different on the other.
Yep.
I think ideally you would go back to something that really harkens to the high point of this design, you know, in the main building especially. But also just to kind of bring that oxidized verdigris color. I think presumably that's what you're thinking with the spruce that sort of picks up on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But to, you know, there are opportunities here in maybe the trim or the staining of the wood or whatever materials you are using, or metal rails.
I think the baseline, where the footings are, the base of it, which is quite thick. I mean, if that, and that's a horizontal line, the same as the top, if that was covered in copper, that would be a fantastic.
Well, in actual copper, right?
Yeah.
Not even the
And then-
tonality, but
Yeah, that would.
of course
that
it would take ages and ages for it to oxidize,
But yeah, but it's, you know, so it would be a working process, but
30.
but that would homogenize it. But the other thing about homogenizing, my thoughts are, you know, you've got the existing one, which is like a ski chalet type decking, and then the proposed one with these horizontal wires, which obviously the style that would lend itself to the house, that like Mallet Stevens, that sort of architect, would not be appropriate because it wouldn't be up to code, and also with the children, you know, because it's wider. You know, you need more, so the wire thing would be a good idea. Would you want to carry that on the existing deck, replace that wood, and so it's one homogeneous thing?
That's the idea.
Right,
That's
yeah.
I think in terms of, I love the idea of, whether it's the tonality or whether it's, you know, and I think whether we use copper would love something, I don't know if I've be 80, I mean 90, 50 years when the copper gets to that color, but I love that concept. Randy, do you want to weigh in on that idea? Can you hear us, by the way, Randy?
Yes, sorry, I had you on mute. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
We can hear you, yeah.
Okay, great. So the reason we were thinking about just doing something as super invisible as possible was for exactly that reason, because I'm a little worried if we do all wood, it becomes very like suburban decking. So we didn't want to do all wood. But I do want the deck to be used as an architectural feature to kind of divide that wall, the stucco wall that's just feels almost like a commercial space. And so I felt like if we had a, you know, beautiful wood cap on the railing, like that would help architecturally to divide that wall visually a little bit. But it's very difficult to like orchestrate or decide on what railings and things like that to do, because it is just, you know, you don't want to have this cumbersome thing there. And so we ultimately kind of decided, let's try to make it as discreet as possible so it's almost invisible, and just lighter than like that back deck that's there is so heavy and so not attractive that we didn't want any of that to bleed over into this new. And so we thought that we could just do something that was on a pretty simple scale. I'm doing some research for another project in Bedford and found these beautiful copper lanterns, post lanterns, but I don't know if that would be too much going in that direction for that space. It's like, I'm worried that it would be like a little, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but like a little too Staten Island. I'm just worried on this structure because the structure is very void of detail. The house does not have, you know, a lot of detail. It's very straight line and whatever. And so like mixing in with that, and that's the reason that the deck up there looks so sticks out so much, and because it does have bulkiness to it that the house does not have. The house has really simple lines. And so how do you add a deck that is technically a contemporary item to this historic house and make it kind of blend in. And my philosophy is you kind of make it disappear.
Is your intention, Randy, then to use this new solution all the way around then?
I think eventually, yes, it would be better because you can't ultimately leave the old deck in.
Okay, we were under the impression that you were gonna keep that, okay.
No, because the existing,
I just want to budget wise, I don't know where Drew and Biz are on, like, if they do all that in phase one. But the intention is to uniform the whole thing. So that because I guess it's really hard, man, just being honest, it's really a hard thing.
because the existing deck, I would imagine, and you could probably check, one of the owners, the previous owner still lives in Tuxedo, Tom Salerno. He was a builder, and so he owned the house, or his father owned the house, I think. And they probably put that deck on or replaced the historic one, because it doesn't, so he may have some photographs of what it did look like originally, if that may help. But I think we're on the same wavelength. It's to replace that existing deck and something that's more metallic or more minimal, or channeling Mussolini in the style of the house.
So the invisible, can you describe the coloration, et cetera, the materials of
It's
the,
just steel.
Yeah,
isn't it?
so
is it all steel?
go ahead. Somebody else
I
was
was
going to
just,
speak.
it was steel wires, right? You're visualizing.
So it's, you use cedar posts and you use the cedar cap. The top board is cedar and the posts are cedar, but then the cables in between are steel. And they just, it takes about 1 year probably. And then the finish kind of comes off of it. In other words, it's not shiny anymore. It actually becomes much more invisible, but it takes about 1 year.
What is the original finish?
Stainless still.
Ah, okay. So you're letting it oxidize or?
Yeah, you let it oxidize. It oxidizes, and it becomes not galvanized, but it's just dull. It's just.
So it's not stainless steel. It's kind of it's an oxidizing steel.
The steel. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The downside of this, I mean,
But if it's stainless, then it wouldn't oxidize.
the downside of it is the supporting posts and brackets. Look, what it is, will you be screening that with sort of fastigious trees or bushes or something, or?
Are we talking underneath? Or are we
Underneath.
talking on the
Underneath.
underneath? Oh, you're definitely going to have to do some landscaping stuff because it's off the ground. I don't remember the exact distance, but
We'll definitely be doing landscaping.
Right.
A part of the consideration
and
there
then
is,
the,
sorry, go ahead, Randy.
my pet peeve is looking at the underside of a deck. I hate that.
Right.
So it would have to be fully landscaped.
We're also,
or
if you recall, there's the driveway, because the home has 3 garages on one side, 3 garages on the other side. Prior owners have actually disabled 3
That was
garages.
my next question. is
which
what's
are-
happening? Right.
So what we're doing is, and we're waiting for the obviously pending and the positive assumption that we're able to figure out how to do this appropriately and up to the standards of the deck. We will be removing all of the asphalt that goes down and around, just because we think it's hideous.
So thanks for doing that.
And we're gonna be grass and landscape. So it'll become a traditional home with driveway in front, driveway in the side, it stops at the front. That's all then.
You have much more opportunity for screening too from the road.
So the,
Because there's a bunch more space there,
Yeah.
and that whole area
You could
will be,
double up.
could be
your
landscape.
spruce.
Exactly.
so, I'm just a little bit, I would perhaps request that this facade be more developed? Because I think what we are requested to do is approve these 3 French doors at the same time. And I think there's quite a lot of change to these.
Would be 2, actually, is the revised view, it would be 2 French doors.
Okay, I think I think the deck should be approved together with the design changes for this whole facade. You know, there's changes to these garage doors, right? You might even want to close them up underneath here. And then there's quite a substantial facade change to these. You're going to cut one of these out.
Then
So it's-
expand or maybe.
It's not, we're not expanding.
Okay.
We would be, because the window space is sufficiently wide,
Mhm.
we would actually just be cutting down to extend the current height of the window, but just down to the floor.
Right,
Mm.
of one or of several?
2 of them.
Okay,
2.
but wouldn't you like to, I think it'd be
Oh, and
important
leaving
to
one.
see the whole,
Leave
because
one.
that's a
Oh,
very
yeah, no,
beautiful
we have, yeah,
facade.
but when you come back
So
after.
there's a
the
lot,
variance.
there's a lot of changes that are knock-on changes from this deck. So it'd be really good to see it all together.
And then
Um,
you would salvage
I'd
the
say-
bricks, that, where you've extended the windows down to make the windows into doors, you'd salvage those bricks to replace the gap where the third window's gone.
The 3rd window would remain a window.
Oh, it remained with, okay,
That stays
okay, great.
untouched, exactly, that
Yeah.
stays untouched.
Okay.
But
Great.
down
Yeah.
here, the doors are gonna disappear, the garage doors, or?
The garage, the intention is, because the deck would be over them,
Mhm.
and because the
Un-
land actually, they can't be used,
Oh.
and they're hidden, we just intend to leave them as is, because the land actually slopes upwards. So you actually can't, and if you look from the street, you can't really quite see the garage doors.
Right,
Because the street level is the same as the ground floor. The garage would actually be considered a basement, but for the fact that the backyard and the primary residence of the home are at street level,
yeah,
there's this kind of bizarre, not bizarre, just like an unexpected pitch.
every single
Between the
house that I've
backyard.
I had to explain that thing, where
Yeah,
you're in a basement, but you're not a
Mhm.
basement because.
Mm, mhm.
yeah,
because it
and
pitches up
they did
between
that in
the,
30s, they
oh, really?
Oh, yeah,
Fascinating. So they must have actually excavated not just for the foundation of the home, but actually like areas around it to create a pitch so that
Mm.
that was still.
Right.
So our intention is to leave those garage doors the same. So to recap, to the request was to present a more developed facade specifically with details on the doors.
and also, I'd like to see those pillars more resolved also, and to try and understand what you're doing to the old deck. What are you changing what it's standing on? Are you just changing the railing of it, or those kind of questions? And then if there's lighting, what sort of lighting? I think it'd be really useful to see all of that at once, right? Exterior
Oh,
lighting
for sure.
changes and things. So if you could put as much detail into the plan as possible, that would be
Makes sense.
incredibly helpful.
One
Yeah,
other
that-
question that I have, since we're talking about the colors, if we go back to this. So are you, all the windows on the brick portions? of-
Sorry.
Yeah, the original part of the house.
Mhm.
Yeah, refresh my memory. What do you have for the sort of framing of around the windows? Is it that sort of graphite dark?
That's right. That's
So you'll
correct.
keep that, or,
Right.
okay, so that, and you'll do the same here. So you'll have beige and then,
Exactly. No colors.
I-
We keep keeping that, and then
having the graphite, sort of dark graphite,
exactly around the windows.
just as they are in the regular part of the house.
Exactly. And we'd keep the accent and the aesthetic the same. And the doors, our intention is, and Randy's actually in the process of sourcing these, but identifying doors that are either custom or that are vintage doors of the era that are then modified and tailored to actually fit the space. And we can provide that detail in the next turn.
It was about the doors, yeah. They would be appropriate. So we need to see, so, you know, whether it's, probably custom would be the easiest thing because to match it to, so it's appropriate. The probability of finding something that you could jimmy rig into the space would be, but you know, I don't know where your sources are, so maybe you do have a magical source.
I'll share an inspiration image of it if I can find it.
Sorry about the Zoom call. I tried to change the settings, but.
Thank you for trying.
Or should we ask for that?
Honestly, anything involved with this project, whether it's lighting or the deck, anything, color change should all be part of this.
Yeah, so if you have, if the color change wasn't part of the original application, could you add that in?
We had,
Was,
it was included in the
Okay,
application.
all right.
If,
There was a cover letter that I think mentioned,
and then also, in the notarized application as well, we mentioned.
It's in there?
It is in there,
Okay.
yes. Lenore, would you mind speaking a bit to
Yes.
process of using colors?
What we did was, at least by Zoom, we put up all the samples, as he said, like 13 or 15 of them to begin with, and against the brick in different positions all over the house, you know, so that you had sunlight on one side, a rainy day. And then we just started eliminating and looking at it from a distance and also a close up. And these are the two colors that seemed neutral enough for a big exterior. It's a big mass, you know, and obviously we'd like it to more tie into the existing beautiful brick, which I love. That golden yellow brick is so classic. And I agree with you about that copper verdigris is so phenomenal. On a side, copper verdigris can often be sped up as far as the patina. It doesn't necessarily have to take 30 years. There are certain chemicals you can wash with and things like that. We could try to explore that if we want to speed up the process. But I think that is an ideal way to approach that and tie that into the rest of the house, because there really is just three color. There's the golden color, that black charcoaly, wonderful steely color, and then obviously the verdigris. And so those are the three areas we're working with. And I think Deb is right about bringing those greens and those cool greens as far as the plantings and bringing that color in. And then we'd like to minimize the big black box that's attached to the house right now and try to incorporate a little bit into the rest of the house and at least soften its impact from the street. I mean, would be my feeling. It seems to be, if we take it off that brick color and be mindful of what color the existing house is and not make it too bright, try to keep it very toned. My tendency would be make it duller than the existing house so it doesn't pop forward and it's not stronger. So those are the two that we've come up with, and we can certainly do big swatches and make, you know, things, make sure that you approve the colors beforehand.
Question, we're talking about the extension, so instead of the dark
Gray. Exactly.
it's going to be my thought on it, my observation would be that, you know, there's the original building and this is an extension, it seems. I don't know when it was done, but you know, there aren't the architectural elements of the original one, and it has this sort of gray asphalt roof, which I think the current colors, you know, tie in beautifully with that. And I personally, I just kind of like the effect that this is the original and this is not trying to be part of it, that this is a separate story in itself, and we're not trying to merge them. So that's my only input on that. I kind of like this. It seems with colors, you know, houses disappear more when they're, you know, painted these dark colors. So I kind of like it like that. This one, especially with the gray asphalt roof, it sticks out because it's a TP roof. You know, with this color, the roof may just stick out like a sore thumb. Whereas at the moment, there's this mass that is homogeneous and is you know, has its own story. That's my only observation on that.
I wonder if there's a possibility of counterintuitively maybe, and this may be a terrible direction, but of going in something that's got the tonality of the brick, but is darker than these two, so that it could continue to do what Christopher's saying, which is sort of recede a little bit. It might not work. It may be that in order for it to recede, you really do need to have that kind of blank graphite color, and that anything in this family is going to jump. I don't know.
What we did in part of the color studies, we both applied the swatches to the primary brick building, and then we also applied it to the distant building. I think just living in the home, the reality is that on any day that's not dreary, the gray really jumps out, because the color of the brick home fades and looks natural, and it's against greens, or it's against the blue sky, and then there's this large, flat, solid structured object of a dark gray. And it really jumps out against the home, because from the front angle, you're actually seeing it square, and from the back angle, you're also seeing it square.
Right.
So it's never quite like,
And that's the thing, it's quite a public house, because, yeah, particularly during 4 months of the year. Yeah, and that's what you see from the road.
exactly right. And
Which is why I think it's sort of a sensitive issue.
Well, I have a suggestion, but I'm not sure what your budget is, but if you replace that asphalt roof with a copper roof, that would be fantastic.
I'd be willing to take contributions from you guys. and I'll tell you, if you guys raise the funds, I'm happy to do it.
That's the best answer I've ever heard in this.
But look, I think just to be very realistic about this, I mean, this is what I was hoping to get out of today. First off, is I think, and please tell me if this is realistic. Is I think there were kind of two things. The first is would love to have, and John, I think your expertise in particular here, given our conversation, is what's the level of kind of pending details that would be okay for us to be able to start the process with the BZA. Because we're hoping to at least put ourselves in a position where we have the option to start work on the deck before we're in the dead of winter. And I know there's, a 60-day delay essentially from our conversation, but you said it's
30 days
day.
from the application.
Yeah, and it's a
You'd have
30-day
to file-
application
You'd
delay.
have to file the BZA application by next week in order to be heard the beginning of October.
Exactly.
And the purpose of this meeting is to make sure that the bar has some confidence in what you're doing, because we do not want to send you to the BZA, to get approval for a project that the bar still has possibly major reservations.
I mean, speaking just to the deck, I think, I hear what you're saying, and
Just got cut off.
oh, he did. Oh.
Yeah, we can keep speaking though.
But I hear what he's saying about minimizing it. As long as it's consistent, I had thought that you were going to have A and B.
No, definitely not.
If it's all B and it's all this very super invisible, solution, honestly, I think there is sort of an awkward sort of A and B with the two structures. I think it is nice for livability, but even possibly for the view shed to have it bound together. So, I mean, speaking about the deck itself, I would feel very comfortable sort of, giving my blessing to that for the purposes of going to the BZA for a variance.
And then, of course, we would come back with far more detail, as I took notes on, more developed facade, specifics on the windows converting to doors, what details on, drawing which demonstrates that it's going to be all B along the old deck, as well as lighting and a light landscaping plan. Yeah.
I mean, in a perfect world, it would be great to have some, is it CAD or what is the program?
Color mock-up,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
A color
that's-
mock-up of that
That'd be
black
essential.
being replaced
Particularly-
with this if possible. Do you think you
Mhm.
could maybe do that like a?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can definitely do that. And that was the assumption that we would provide that.
It would be so
different-
useful,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
There's
the-
Yeah.
different philosophies on the subject, I'm
Absolutely.
I'm more of someone who likes to integrate things, but I do totally understand what you're saying.
Right.
And you're
Mhm.
trying to come up with a compromise, so it'd be super helpful
Yeah, I
to
understand
see.
both viewpoints, but
I do too.
But I would love to see, Lenore, how it looks from Tuxedo Road in particular, but really also from your.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most
sure.
important thing. The clearer the picture is for us to be able to approve it, and that what we approve ends up what that's happening. That's the best thing. So
Makes sense.
I think with these mock-ups, I mean, it doesn't have to be a video mock-up of, going around the whole thing. It's just a deck.
Yep.
So that would be great, because this color thing is as we all know, it's a hard nut to crack. The only other point, as far as the BZA is concerned, normally I wouldn't be so enthusiastic about another huge deck on a property that already has one. But the fact that this is pretty much hidden, you don't see it, is fine. So I have no problem with it.
So I'm also normally against very enormous decks, but in this case, there are two reasons. One is the livability coming out of the back of the house, and secondly, not destroying the original history. So I think for those two reasons, I'd also be okay with making an exception, particularly if it becomes integrated and this old deck is actually going to look more sensitive to the house.
Yeah.
It could be very chic.
Yeah.
And an improvement.
And then you have the opportunity maybe to relocate the propane tank down there to hide that and things like that.
Thank you for saying that. That is on my list, but I'm going to include that one too.
And
Yeah, that propane tank. It's yeah, that's exactly right. So thank you all very much. And Lenore, I just want to confirm, because I think God bless our experts who done so much of this. And Richard, actually, one question do you have any questions regarding the facade? Richard's our lead architect, or details that you need to provide to the board on the next turn of this? Thank you for joining, by the way. He's working on getting off mute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, so it sounds like we would obviously need to show you the full picture of the entire rear elevation and the elevation along Fox Hill Road. I guess to see the entire view would be helpful for you to kind of understand it cohesively. That's if I understand correctly, that's what you're looking for.
And if there's any way of possibly finding an alternative to the steel cables. I know you explained that they could be appearing invisible. To me, steel cables kind of are sort of ultra modern and industrial. So if one maybe could see what Sir Edwin Lutyens might have done or something, so just perhaps look at some historic examples of how these things might have been resolved.
Okay, yeah, we could look into that too.
There's if you haven't seen the film, I think it's I Am Love with Tilda Swinton. It's a 30s villa in Milan that's used for many films. There's a Pasolini film, Teorama, that was used. So it's the same sensibility. And so that's the sort of the aim to go for. In the hallway, when you look inside, there's a beautiful wrought iron staircase going up with very, Art Deco-y motifs. I'm not saying you should recreate that, but have a look at the film, because that'll give you some inspiration.
I Am Love. Thank you very much.
I Am Love. Is it Tilda Swinton?
It is indeed.
It is.
You've seen it, right, Leonora?
Yes, one of my favorite films of all time. And it was used in a Gucci film too, The House.
Right. Yeah.
It's phenomenal home.
Yeah. It's a
This
dream.
is one rather silly comment or question, but right now there's this sort of cacophony of phone cables and things. I assume you will make sense.
I was looking at that as I often do with disdain this morning.
Or
It's on the list.
okay.
It's on the list. No question. Thank you all very much. John, is there anything we need to be able to, once we complete this BZA application, to submit, given all we've heard here?
No, we just need a full BZA application with
Great.
updated paperwork by very early next week, as we discussed.
Thank you so much.
Any questions, just email me. The office is closed on Monday, but
Excellent.
email me so we can get things tidied away by Tuesday or Wednesday.
Thank you so much. Excellent. Thank you all.
One last comment. When you have the landscaping plan, those grasses, those sort of feathery grasses, they're a terrible invasive species. So have your landscaper replace those.
We're working with Andrea Buckingham.
Okay, great.
On landscaping. So she is a gem. She is
she's
we're a
great.
huge fan of hers. So she'll be helping.
So
Helen's been so pivotal in shaping our personal thinking. Helen, I just want to say, is there anything, I don't know if you can hear us, but is there anything else you wanted to add, Helen, since we've talked a lot about it, a lot of the things about that you and I have spoken for hours and hours and hours about? Is there anything else that I missed? She'll be grading me afterwards, by the way.
She's muted.
She's muted. She may not, she may have stepped away. She's actually at an event, tonight, been very kindly dialed in. All right, she may not have.
mother-in-law
been here.
mute.
That's the mother-in-law mute, that's right. Excellent. Well, thank you all so much for this.
Thanks
This is
so
great.
much.
And I think do I need to do anything to be on the agenda for the next meeting?
Well, the first thing now is to go to the Board of Zoning
Yeah.
Appeals and work on the.
And work on the
comments that Mark
plans.
gave you this evening.
And then we can turn it by within a week, then we could be,
I think as we discussed, I think the next BZA meeting and the first meeting.
oh, I understand. My
It's only
apologies.
a
Yeah, that's
few
right.
days
So
away.
sorry. So it'll be BZA first and then we'll come back
to the bar.
after that to the bar. So that'll be in October.
Probably the end of October, or third Monday in October.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck. What a great project.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun.
That house needed someone to love it.
There's a lot of, there's a lot of building to love. But, growing family of 5 and, we're so lucky we're gonna have our au pair living with us. So, it's a full house, which is nice. So, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks a
And
lot.
thanks also for all you do.
Thank
I
you.
know it's,
It's nice of you to say.
Yeah, as Molly said, so there's not enough, a lot of lack of appreciation. Thank you.
Thanks a
Right,
lot.
take
Have
care.
a good night.
You too.
Isn't that it, right? The
Yeah, so we just have 2 sets of minutes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
Need those. Bye-bye.
So we have 2 sets of minutes to be approved for tonight. July the 25th and August the 5th. I think everyone had a chance to review them.
Yes.
So Desiree, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2 sets of minutes of August the 5th and July the 25th.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 3 in favor. And then I'd like to make a motion to adjourn today's bar meeting. At,
Second.
at 6:20.
22.
I capped it.
Thank
Aye.
you.
All in
Thank
favor.
you. All in
Unanimous.
favor?
Yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
always an easy one.
All right. Good night, Desiree.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Aye.